Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the National World War II Museum's Memorial Day Commemoration Ceremony presented by Bank of America. Thank you for joining us, and our program will get started in just a moment.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Kim LaDuff, Vice President of People and Culture here at the National World War II Museum, and it is my honor and pleasure to welcome you to our Memorial Day Commemoration Ceremony. As we begin today's program, please stand as the USMC Color Guard presents the colors and the Victory Bells perform the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You may be seated. We would now like to recognize all members of the World War II generation attending today's ceremony in person or watching online. I'd like to acknowledge two who are here in the audience. Mr. Ronnie Rishud, who served in the Marine Corps. Mr. Ronnie, if you can wave your hand. And Mr. Benny Robichaud, who was Army, if you can wave. He's standing right here in the front. Thank you. And I'll ask that any others who were part of that generation please stand or wave as you're able so that we can acknowledge you. Thank you. It's truly our honor to pay tribute to you and your service every day at the museum. I'd also like to recognize all other veterans and active duty military in attendance. Please stand or wave. Thank you. We also want to extend a special and warm welcome to Gold Star family member Rebecca Christie. Rebecca, thank you for traveling to be here with us. We very much look forward to hearing from you. Bank of America is the presenting sponsor of today's Memorial Day Commemoration ceremony, as well as other programming that supports our nation's veterans and military throughout the year. We're grateful to Bank of America for its support of our efforts to recognize and honor the fallen service members of our country. Please join me in welcoming Holly Popham, Senior Vice President of Bank of America, New Orleans and Baton Rouge, to the stage. Holly.
Good morning. My name is Holly Popham. I'm the Market Executive for Bank of America for the New Orleans Baton Rouge market. I stand before you with immense gratitude as we commemorate Memorial Day at the National World War II Museum. It is both an honor and a responsibility to be the presenting sponsor at this event, and we're so grateful to be here. I want to take this opportunity to honor all of the men and women who have faithfully served and sacrificed for their country. To all of our service members and veterans, and to all of the families remembering loved ones today, we honor you on Memorial Day and every day. To those that we have lost, you are forever in our hearts and minds. We recognize the immeasurable sacrifice you made by paying the ultimate price in defending your country and our freedom. I want to reaffirm Bank of America's commitment to honoring active service members and their families, as well as veterans, and to supporting them in every possible way. Thank you all for being here today. We are so proud to be a very small part of today's event. Thank you.
And Holly, thank you and Bank of America for your continued support of the museum, our educational mission, and honoring veterans and military service members. The National World War II Museum is truly privileged to have an incredible network of supporters and partners who champion our mission. This morning, we also have some of our Patriot Circle and Charter members here in attendance. Please stand or wave to be acknowledged. Your ongoing support makes programs like this possible. Thank you for your continued commitment to the museum and to our educational mission. Before today's ceremony, you heard a performance from the American Legion Post 377 Band, many of whom are veterans themselves. If you missed their performance, be sure to stick around as they will be performing again at the conclusion of the program. Please join me in a round of applause for the American Legion Post 377 Band. Today, we gather to remember those who gave their lives on battlefields throughout American history. In World War II alone, 414,920 American service members and merchant mariners were killed in action. Here at the National World War II Museum, we understand the importance of ensuring that their sacrifice was not in vain and that future generations will hear the stories of those who fought valiantly to defend freedom. The National World War II Museum will continue to tell these important stories of valor and selflessness, not just on Memorial Day, but every day, through our exhibit galleries, programming, educational resources, and more. No one feels the weight of Memorial Day more than Gold Star family members who lost a loved one in service to their country. This past November, the museum unveiled our Gold Star Memorial Monument. This monument, located on the second floor terrace of the Liberation Pavilion, is a place of permanence where Gold Star families can gather and remember their loved ones. The monument also demonstrates that our community cares for Gold Star families and appreciates their sacrifices while honoring the ultimate sacrifice of their loved one. I invite all of you to visit this beautiful monument on this Memorial Day or any time you're here on our campus. Gold Star families across the nation and throughout history have felt the cost of war and conflict more than anyone. They include mothers, fathers, wives, husbands, children, aunts and uncles, and grandparents. We are honored to be joined today by Rebecca Christie. Rebecca is the daughter of U.S. Air Force Major Richard Marion Martin. She's also the mother of U.S. Navy Senior Chief Petty Officer Joshua Austin Christie, who was an explosive ordnance disposal technician. Major Richard Martin served in the U.S. Air Force and was the recipient of many awards and designations, including the Distinguished Flying Cross, the National Defense Service Medal, Korean Service Medal, and United Nations Service Medal. Explosive Ordnance Disposal Senior Chief Joshua Christie served in the U.S. Navy. Josh was awarded 3 Bronze Stars, 1 with Valor, an Army Commendation Medal, a Navy Commendation Medal, 2 Combat Action Ribbons, and the Afghanistan, Iraq, and Inherent Resolve Medals. Both of these men are no longer with us. When they passed, they were executing faithful service to our country. Rebecca has traveled from Florida to be with us. She is joined by her husband, Jim, and we want to thank both of you for being here with us today. Rebecca and Jim have spent over 30 years as educators, including in international education in Dubai, Burma, Saudi Arabia, and Indonesia. Today, they enjoy their time in North Florida and like to read, bike, garden, and take sunset walks. Their family's legacy of service continues as their younger son, Lieutenant Commander James Travis Christie, is currently serving in the U.S. Coast Guard and is an MH-60 helicopter pilot. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Rebecca Christie to the stage.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Christie, and I was invited to speak with you today as both a Gold Star mother and a Gold Star daughter. I'd like to thank everyone involved with the National World War II Museum for giving me this opportunity to honor my son. U.S. Navy Explosive Ordnance Disposal, Senior Chief Petty Officer Joshua Austin Christie, and my father, U.S. Air Force Major Richard Marion Martin. I was asked to simply tell my story. With that in mind, I'd like to talk to you about two American heroes and the love, loss, and gratitude we feel as their family members. I'll begin by speaking to you as a Gold Star mother. My husband, Jim, and I were international educators. He was a school counselor, and I was an elementary school teacher. We began our international careers in 1984 in Saudi Arabia. In 1986, Josh was born in King Khalid Military City in northeastern Saudi Arabia. Shortly after he was born, we were transferred to Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, where Travis was born 2 years later in 1988. When Josh came to the hospital with his dad to meet his new baby brother, we had a gift for Josh in Travis's bassinet. I think that's the day Josh fell in love with Travis. He used to say, "My baby Travis, my baby Travis." The two became best buddies. When we were transferred to Yanbu, Saudi Arabia, the boys enjoyed beach trips to the Red Sea. When we moved to Sumatra, Indonesia, as soon as we arrived, Josh and Trav went out to play. Two of the local Indonesian boys came up, and an altercation was about to begin. Then Josh said, "Hey, you want to help us build a tree house?" And from that moment on, they were friends. In Indonesia, the boys became involved in scouting. They continued with scouting when we moved to Dubai. Eventually, both boys earned their Eagle Scout rank. Jim and I believe that scouting, earning badges, and moving up through the ranks is a large part of what attracted the boys to the military. Those experiences were then coupled with the influence of our family's association with the military. Jim's dad had been a Silver Eagle and a Navy senior chief who told stories about flying into Saudi Arabia to make deliveries. Jim's brother, Scott, was also a Navy chief and was a great advisor for Josh. Although my dad died long before Josh was born, he knew that my dad had been an Air Force B-47 navigator. Also, my brother Doug had enlisted and served in the Marines for 6 years. Later, after earning his degree, he joined the Navy, where he flew A-3 Sky Warriors during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. As a young college student, Josh, who always loved history, decided he was tired of learning about history and he wanted to become a part of history instead. So he joined the Navy in the summer of 2006. Although he originally wanted to become a Navy diver, he was enticed by the thrill of adventure and the hefty bonus offered by the EOD recruiters. Soon afterwards, he made his way through boot camp and began his way through the EOD pipeline. Training along the way was tough. The instructors berated their students and told them that if they planned to pass and become EOD techs, they'd better put their man hats on. Over the weekend, Josh had a cap custom made with man embroidered across the front and showed up wearing it on Monday. One of the guys in Josh's group looked at him aghast and thought, "Who does that?" Later, he came to realize Josh does that. Josh was known for his fun spirit, and usually the fun was meant to benefit everyone. Like a rising tide lifts all boats, Josh lifted everyone's spirits. Soon the two became best friends and both successfully made it through their EOD training. Shortly after returning to San Diego from his first deployment, Josh met Sterling. That's a special love story that I'll leave for Sterling to someday tell. They married in 2015, and over time, the two became four. Jack was born in 2018, and Murphy was born in 2020. With Josh and Sterling together, the fun and creativity increased exponentially. But Sterling had nothing to do with the next gag. Josh and a friend decided to dress up in full military attire and have their portraits made. Then they had them framed and they hung them up on the wall with all of the other dignitaries. With the cost of the sword, the scabbard, the portrait, and the framing, it turned out to be an expensive prank. But in time, it became part of an honored memorial. During all this time, Josh and Travis remained devoted brothers. Travis followed in Josh's footsteps by choosing to pursue a career in the military. However, Travis chose to go to the Coast Guard Academy and later became an MH-60T aircraft commander, flight examiner, and instructor pilot. When Jim and I visited Josh and his family in San Diego for Thanksgiving in 2021, Josh told me that Travis had asked him to give a speech to the Coast Guard at Air Station Cape Cod for their safety stand-down in December. "I don't really want to give a speech," Josh said. "Well, Josh, if you don't want to give it, why are you doing it?" "I'm doing it because I want to see my brother before I deploy. Besides, Trav said I only have to talk for 15 minutes. I can talk about anything for 15 minutes. Although Travis offered to pay for his ticket, Josh paid his own way, took leave, and flew to the East Coast. There, he and Travis had another opportunity to bond as they worked together on the speech that was actually supposed to be 50 minutes long. When he gave the speech, Josh also bonded with the Coast Guard, although he told them that he had disarmed over 150 IEDs, mostly by hand due to the nature of the mission. He also told them that they are the real heroes that go out and risk their lives every day. In January of 2022, Josh got COVID-19. Although he had begun to have headaches daily, he had recovered well enough to deploy to Guam with his unit in late January. The headaches continued to worsen, and over time he developed light sensitivity, eye pain, double vision, and vomiting. Josh would call us from Guam. We knew about the double vision and the headaches, but Josh was always upbeat and never complained. "Josh, how can you do your work?" I asked. "It's easy, Mom," he responded. "I just close one eye and I can see fine." Josh was no longer able to go out on missions. His health problems continued to worsen, and in early June of 2022, Josh returned to San Diego, where he could be fully evaluated and receive a higher level of medical care. Doctors there discovered a large mass on Josh's brain that spanned across the back of both of his eyes, making surgery too risky to be possible. He was diagnosed with glioblastoma, an aggressive incurable brain cancer. Although Josh underwent chemotherapy and proton radiation, at the age of 35, he passed away on October 24th, 2022. It was determined that his brain cancer was service-related and was most likely caused by exposures he received while doing the job he loved. I will always think of Josh's illness and death as a tragedy, but it was a tragedy wrapped in a love story. People flew to San Diego from all over the country to help Josh and his family and to visit Josh at home and later at the hospital. Friends helped take Josh to his appointments and treatments. Some took Jack and Murphy to their activities so that their lives could stay as normal as possible. Josh had so many visitors at the hospital that sometimes it was like a party, and Josh was the honored guest. Sterling was like an air traffic controller, directing groups of people into and out of his hospital room, while at the same time diligently doing her job online. Sterling set up slumber buddies, friends who volunteered to stay with Josh when he was in the hospital. One of Josh's god sisters ever so gently rested her head on Josh's shoulder while he lay in his hospital bed. "I love you, Joshy," she whispered. No story about Josh could be complete without mentioning one of his favorite pastimes: creating, distilling, sampling, sharing, and selling his own collection of spirits, such as Siren's Call Gin and Splice the Main Brace barrel-aged rum. Josh was the owner and distiller of Deaf Shepherd Distilling Company, named after Josh's sidekick, a deaf mixed shepherd Afghan war dog. The San Diego Reader published a story about Josh distilling in paradise and diffusing in the other place. The cover of the magazine said, "A soldier's spirit." That headline takes on new meaning now. At Josh's funeral, one of his friends stood beside the casket, shielded his face with his cover, and silently wept. I wanted to say to him, that body that we all love can't keep up with Josh anymore. Jim and I believe Josh's spirit lives on, and no casket can ever contain it. His spirit is free from pain and disease. He may not look exactly like this now, but this was the living version of that free-spirited Josh that we all continue to love. The portrait that Josh had done as a prank is now part of a framed memorial display that hangs in the Chief's Mess at EOD Mobile Unit 11 in San Diego. The last line on Josh's headstone says, "Legend." And we love that Sterling did that. One of Josh's friends and teammates posted on Facebook, "Josh Christie was the type of man and hero you read about and go see in movies, directly responsible for countless lives saved on the battlefield, rendering safe IEDs meant to kill other special operators. Josh always put the needs of others above his own." Another friend posted, "This man was a true hero and legend." Hunter 7 Foundation said, "For 16 years, Josh did one of the most dangerous, challenging, and intimidating jobs in the world, in some of the most terrifying places to keep us safe." At Josh's funeral, U.S. Navy Commander Jay Higgins, with tremendous respect and precision, handed me the flag that is meant for the mother. In that moment, I thought about my own mother and how in April of 1958, she too was handed a flag, the flag from my father's casket at his military funeral. I realized in that moment that I am also a Gold Star daughter, and that's my dad in the middle. My father, Major Richard Marion Martin, began his career as a U.S. Army Tech Sergeant aerial engineer. He then honorably separated from the Army and entered the Army Air Force and became an Air Force bombardier, navigator, and instructor. He served during World War II, the Korean War, and the Cold War. He completed 11 combat missions in the Asian Pacific Theater with 109 combat hours and 40 combat missions with 393 combat hours in the B-29 during the Korean War. In the latter part of his career, he was with the 386th Bomb Squadron at MacDill Air Force Base in Florida, which was part of the Strategic Air Command. On April 15th, his crew took off in their B-47 with thunderstorms in the area. 5 minutes after takeoff, due to a metal fatigue crack in the wing, further compromised by the turbulent weather, the left wing separated from the fuselage, causing a violent roll. The plane exploded over Sunshine Skyway Bridge. Although debris rained down on the bridge, no one was hurt on the ground. There was a 2-day search period before all 4 members of the crew were determined to have been killed. I was only 3 at the time, and my brothers Doug and Craig were ages 5 and 12. I remember very little about the crash. My brother Doug said that once the chaplain and the casualty assistance officer came to the door, our house was filled with crying. I remember lying across my bed face down and screaming, "I want my daddy back, I want my daddy back." My 3-year-old little heart and mind thought they could bring him back. My next memory is of my mother, weeks or months later, gathering my brothers and myself into her arms in a family hug and saying, "It's time to go on now." What I remember of my father is from my mother, mentioning him in casual conversation almost every day. "Your father was so intelligent," she'd say, and tell us a story about that. "Your father had such a good sense of humor. Your father was such a good dad. He loved you kids so much." She always spoke in positive tones. She did say, though, that our dad was spending long hours in the evening studying Russian as they were doing flights over the USSR. She also told us that my dad had been in a previous crash and had to bail out. One of the guys refused to jump, and they had to force him out of the plane. When Travis requested my dad's military records from the National Archives, we saw a copy of the paperwork that showed that at the age of 25, he had been admitted to the hospital where he stayed for 2 days due to an injury to his leg caused by jumping out of a C-82 that crashed near Elgin, Texas. Although my mom always had a positive attitude, when I was about 13 years old, we went to the cemetery. She had me stay in the car, and she walked up to his grave. Then she sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. Because Josh and Trav were always proud of each other, and they always celebrated each other's successes, I think Josh would be happy for me to share with you that, like my dad, who was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross, Travis received the Distinguished Flying Cross too. Here, he is ready to celebrate with a glass of Josh's Splice the Main Brace barrel-aged rum. Travis was also awarded the Helicopter Association International Salute to Excellence Pilot of the Year Award in 2022, and he was inducted into the Coast Guard Hall of Heroes. Of course, Travis always said that he just happened to be on call, and he accepted the awards on behalf of everyone in his unit. Our family feels tremendous gratitude toward everyone who helped Josh, his family, and all of us. We have friends across diverse cultures and religions, and we respect them all. So many people reached out to say that they were praying for Josh and all of us. We want you to know that we appreciated all of those prayers, and those who weren't religious offered us positive thoughts, and we appreciated those. We will forever be grateful to Sterling for being such a supportive wife during the fun times and the very difficult times. She is a wonderful, nurturing mother, and because of her, Jack and Murphy continue to thrive. Uncle Travie continues to be a big part of Jack and Murphy's lives, and he continues to help Sterling as so many others are doing. For this, Travis, like Josh, is a hero in our family. We also appreciate Trav's wife, Laura, for holding down the fort with their 2 young daughters, Piper, age 5, and Paige, age 2. I want to say a special thank you to the young man who flew from the East Coast to San Diego to see Josh in the hospital. He said to those of us in the room, "I don't know how you feel about religion, but I'd like to pray for Josh." Although Josh had already been under hospice care for quite a while, this man boldly prayed for Josh's healing. He also prayed for him the next day before returning to the East Coast. Another young man came to see us the day after Josh passed away. He told us that he knows exactly where Josh is, that he had prayed with him 2 weeks ago. I too had prayed with Josh, and I too knew that Josh accepted Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior and believed that Christ died on the cross and was resurrected for the forgiveness of our sins. I said to the young man, I always expected Josh to be healed. He had such a positive impact on so many people. I knew he would have a powerful testimony that would bring others to the Lord. It's happening, he responded. I know because the guys are coming to me. I will always cherish that conversation and that man. There are so many people that we'd like to thank. Everyone who played even the slightest role is important. Finally, I might have been embarrassed to stand before you on such a special day in my casual Hawaiian shirt, but I'm happy to tell you that every Friday, and on special occasions such as today, Jim and I wear our Hawaiian shirts to celebrate Josh, his zest for life, and his love of all things Aloha Friday. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about love, loss, gratitude, and 2 American heroes. And because I know Josh would want me to, I was able to also tell you about a 3rd American hero. Thank you all.
Becky, Jim, thank you so much. We're so grateful to you for sharing your family's story. On Memorial Day, we not only remember those who lost their lives, but also those who were never found after war, whose families never received closure. I would now like to draw your attention to the table to the left of the stage as the Louisiana wing of the Civil Air Patrol conducts a missing man table ceremony.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to present to you a table set for the prisoners of war and those missing in action from all wars. Trey, please. This setting you are about to see before you is filled with much symbolism. Please let me explain. It is to remember the prisoners of war and those missing in action from all branches of service that are too often forgotten. Let us remember them. The empty chair depicts an unknown face representing no specific soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine, but all who are not here with us. The chair cover, please. Let us remember their absence. The table is round to show our concern for them is never ending. Let us remember them. The tablecloth. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms so that their children could remain free. Remember. The Bible. The Bible represents faith in a higher power and the pledge to our country, founded as one nation under God. Remember. The place setting. The place setting for one, the one who is away from all who cherish them. Remember. A slice of lemon. A slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate if we do not bring them home. Remember, the salt shaker. The salt shaker, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait. Remember, the napkin. The black napkin stands for the emptiness these warriors have left in the hearts of their families and friends. A purple heart medal is attached to remember the wounds they have encountered. Remember, the wine glass. The wine glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us tonight, maybe tomorrow. Remember, the candle. The lone candle symbolizes the frailty of a prisoner alone, trying to stand up against their oppressors. Remember, the yellow ribbon symbolizes the everlasting hope of a joyous reunion with those yet accounted for. Remember, the rose. The single rose reminds us of the loved ones and families of our comrades in arms who keep the faith and await their return. Remember, as we look upon this empty table, do not remember ghosts from the past. Remember our comrades. We will now light the candle. Remember those whom we depended on in battle. They depend on us to bring them home. Remember our friends. They are the ones we love, who love life and freedom as we do. They will remember what we do. Please honor and remember them. A moment of silence. As we extinguish this candle, let us transfer its flame to our hearts. Remember, please extinguish the candle. Thank you for sharing this moment of remembrance, brought to you by the Pontchartrain Cadet Squadron of the Civil Air Patrol. Left face, forward march.
Thank you to the Louisiana Wing of the Civil Air Patrol for reminding us of the fallen, imprisoned, and missing service members on this significant day. Please join me in standing for the sounding of taps, and please remain standing afterwards for a moment of silence. You may be seated. Thank you again to the Christie family, the U.S. Marine Corps Color Guard, the Louisiana Wing of the Civil Air Patrol, and the American Legion Post 377 Band for helping us to commemorate this important day. Each day here at the museum, it is our mission to honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice and remember the families who continue to endure their great loss. As one of our good friends, Gary Sinise, always says, it's never enough. Thank you all for joining us for this special commemoration ceremony, whether virtually or here on campus in New Orleans. We'll see you next time you're here at the National World War II Museum. Thank you.